Hello, welcome to the second lesson of probability. Today we're going to be talking about percentages, decimals, and fractions, and how we can convert between all those different ways of writing what is essentially the exact same thing. So, in case you're not familiar, this is the percentage sign. In maths, we like to keep things short and simple, so instead of writing divided by 100 over and over again, instead we just write this simple symbol. Let's go to the next whiteboard where we will have a look at where these fractions, percentages, and decimals are on a probability line. Alright, here is our probability line. So we start off at 0 and we go all the way over to 1. So in this chart, you'll notice that the numbers that are under each other tend to repeat the same number. Now what do I mean by that? So in the middle, you will see that there is a 0.5. Underneath that, there is a 50%. So you can see that both the 0.5 and the 50% both have a 5 in it. So there's some relation there that we can explore in a minute. You'll notice on this side, there is a couple of fractions with a very big denominator. So the number on the bottom is quite large, but also the number on the top of the denominators, the numerators, are quite small. So that's giving us a very small fraction. So it's going to be closer to 0. On the other side, however, you'll notice that the numbers on the top of the fractions are much bigger. They're pretty much they're much closer to the denominator than they are on this side. And you'll notice on the other side we have 1, we have 100%, or we could also say 1.0 as to keep our numbers consistent. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at converting between that 0.5 to 50%. So we've got the percent sign, and essentially that 5 numbers move. So let's go to the next whiteboard and let's do some examples. As I mentioned before, 100% is the exact same as 1. And that's because this percent sign literally just means divided by 100. But as I said before, we like to keep things simple and short in maths, so we write this percent sign instead of writing divided by 100 every single time. So let's change this percent sign into its number form. So this is the exact same as 100 divided by 100. So if I have 100 and I divide it by 100, I'm asking, if I have 100, how many 100s do I have? I just have 1. So when we're trying to convert from a percentage into a number or a decimal number, all we have to do is we just divide it by 100. Let's do a few examples on the next board. Alright, here we have 2 examples that we're going to go through. Now just like before, we're going to follow the same process. So I have 53%. So to turn this into a decimal or a fraction, all we have to do is change this percentage sign into its number form to get rid of it. So we write 53 over 100. Now, some of you might be able to see that this is just the same as 0.53. So 53% is the exact same as 0.53. Now, you might have noticed that there's a trick. We have 53%, and then we divide it by 100. And what we can do is essentially move the decimal place 2 spots across. So if we have a 53, that will be the same as 1, 2. That would be the same as 0.53. Now, we're going to do it the other way around. So we have a decimal number over here. Now, we are going to try to turn it into a percentage. So we've got to do the opposite to what we did here. So here, we divided by 100. So over there, we're going to do the opposite because we're doing the reverse. We're going to multiply by 100. So if I have 0.62, I'm going to go 0.62 times 100%. Now it's important that we put that percent sign back in. So 0.62 times 100 is just 62%. Now again, you might notice that there's a bit of a trick. So over here, we move the decimal point 2 spaces that way. So over here, because this is the opposite, we're going to move it in the other direction. 1, 2. So the decimal point is going to be over here. So 0.62 is the exact same as 62%.